Okay, thank you. Welcome to the Village of Buchanan workshop meeting of February 22nd, 2022, 2222. This meeting is being conducted in accordance with Executive Order 11.3 of the law of 2022. Today, after the Pledge of Allegiance, I'd like to do a moment of silence for Bob, and we always called him Stewie Stewart. He was an employee. He was a longtime village resident. He was an employee of the Village of Buchanan. He had worked for a while at our sewer treatment plant, and he also was a foreman, our highway foreman. So please, we'll have a moment of silence for Bob. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United States of America
and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Okay, thank you. All right, we don't have too much on the agenda this evening. We are going to discuss the ADU. We do also have a pretty lengthy executive session, but I wanted to get the board's, we did send out with the ADU, we did send out a sample resolution that we'll approve in March. And just to give a review, the ADU is the accessory dwelling unit law that is that has been proposed. Senator Harckham is one of the people that have proposed it. I found out, I think we all found out this the last couple of days, that our governor has pulled that from the executive budget. I believe there was $83 million earmarked in there for the ADU. And what the ADU was, it's not a good thing for our communities. It's something we, of course, as a board are against. But what's some of the problems with it, it eliminates the home rule. So what that is, it's the municipalities' rules, their zoning rules, it would eliminate that. And we would have no control. And what they're trying to do is allow every property or every home to have an accessory unit. And that would cause a lot of chaos in our communities because, you know, let's just think about it really simply. Say we have almost 800 dwelling units here in the village. Every household could potentially have an accessory dwelling unit that could more than double our population here in the village. That would affect our quality of life. That would affect our services. It would affect, so it would affect our police department. It would affect our highway department, our sewage treatment plants. So all the services that we provide, if suddenly all our residents were doubled, think about what that would do to that. And then
Teresa,
also,
you referred to it as ADU, just so everybody knows. ADU
yeah, the
means
accessory dwelling. Oh, I thought I said accessory dwelling unit. Yeah,
well, I
that's
just
what
want
the
to
law
make it
is.
clear to people that that's what the ADU means.
Right. So it's not a good proposed law. The governor did pull it out, but Senator Harckham still has it as a standalone bill. So I think, I think the board's all in agreement, but I think we should still have a resolution, and I think that should still be sent to the Senate, and it should still be sent to the Assembly. I know the Westchester Municipal Association is against it also, and the New York Conference of Mayors is against it. And I know the WMOA is gathering information on different communities, on all the communities that have an accessory apartment law. So it's showing like I think we have right now, we have 25. Is that correct, Marcus? 25 or 30?
25, that's correct.
25. So each community that I know of in Westchester has some type of accessory apartment. So we are trying to accommodate people with the accessory apartments, but there are parameters and there are rules. And with the state, with what they want to do, I just think it's going to make a mess out of all the communities here. It's not a good thing. And I'm sure we're all in agreement with that. And I had sent to the board, I had discussed this with Senator Harkin last May, and I also wrote him a letter after I spoke to him and told him that, I was not in favor of this, and I listed a bunch of reasons why I was not in favor of it. So I'm just glad to see that all the municipalities and all WMOA, NICOM have banded together and are just against it. And I think that pressure stopped the governor from moving along with this in the budget. And that money in the budget was going to be used to help people either legalize accessory apartments or help them make accessory apartments in their homes. But the requirement at that point would have to be that if they took the state money, that they would have to make it under the affordable housing rules. So not good legislation, not a positive for our communities. So, but has everybody had a chance to look at that, what the proposed?
May I make a comment, Mayor?
Sure.
Oh, yes. I find this kind of in the same realm as what the projects did in the city. And this is all what we're hearing about accessory apartments is all being caused by the fact that many neighborhoods in New York City, some of which I grew up in, that were basically middle class and lower middle class neighborhoods, because of the demand for people coming from out of the country, even but out of all other states, getting high level jobs in New York, have increased the prices of rents so much that they started to disperse into places like Washington Heights, which was always basically kind of a lower class working area, into places in Brooklyn that were actually factories and lower class working areas, into New Jersey the same way. And I kind of resentful of the fact that, I moved up here. I just wanted to get away from the density of population in the city. I'd grown up where I didn't see the sun because I lived in an apartment building practically. And now they want to shift the burden of taking people who do have lower class jobs or middle class or lower middle class jobs, because there's a stratification of about six different levels of class structure, and push them into areas where other people are who have gone because they didn't want the concentration of people. And so I think it's the responsibility of New York City, where the developers are building these huge buildings and going into areas for them to accommodate the people with proper rents instead of pushing it out into the suburbs. And this, at least when I moved up here, this practically wasn't considered a suburb. So I think it's really wrong of what's going on overall in the state. That's just my comment. Thank you.
Because we do have we do allow accessory apartments, and we also have 5 Westchester County affordable houses here in the village. So it's not like we're, housing is expensive. It's very expensive. And I do understand that, there's people that need affordable housing, but I think this one size all approach that the state is trying to do, I just, every community is different. Our community is very different too. We don't want to get into a situation, where we have off-street parking. There's no parking for people. It just, I don't know. I think there's more control with our law that we have, the accessory apartments. There's certain requirements that have to be met. So, with this resolution, is there anything, or you can get to Marcus before Friday, before the packet goes out? Is there anything else that anyone thinks needs to be added into this?
Into what, the accessory apartment, or to the agenda?
To the resolution for the agenda for the ADU, because what we're doing.
No, yeah, that resolution's fine, sure.
Okay, all right, it's good. Okay,
I think it's
all
good.
right. Yeah, all right. So
We have an accommodation for affordable units, which is included in here, and we have control over that with the planning board. If people want an accessory apartment, And as you said, they have to meet certain parameters having to do with the maximum percentage of the whole house square footage, minimum size of the apartment and so forth. But, you know, if this overrides our planning board, it could lead to chaos. And I think you might see a lot of people moving in, but you'd also see a lot of people moving out.
Yeah. I don't think this was completely well thought out. So it's my opinion.
Definitely not. Definitely not. We have to fight it with everything we can.
Yes, yes. Okay, so that's what I have for the agenda. I don't know if, you know, I have a few things. I'll just say, I'm at the March meeting, I'm going to be appointing a rec advisory committee. You know, we had spoken about this last month when we got in, last month, I think it was, we got into the discussion about the park, the playground behind the highway department. We had gotten into a discussion about that. So we do have some monies in a rec fund, and I'd like to see what this committee comes up with, and then they would present to the board what their ideas are. And also, if any, I have 4 people on this committee now. If there's anyone else interested, please contact me.
Do any of the people that are getting appointed, do any of them have small children?
Yes, yeah.
Because the committee really should include some people with children.
Yeah, there's three of the people on the board have small children.
Okay, good.
Okay. Also, we have, you know, we did the overlay district on the 9A corridor. We do have an interest from a developer. He would like to come in front of the board at the next workshop meeting in March, and to introduce himself and give a discussion on what he's interested in doing. Also, I think it was a couple of years ago, right off of Broadway, there was a developer that had come in, and they weren't quite ready to proceed. And now they're ready to come forward and start, you know, come in front of the board and discuss what they'd like to do. So I did talk to the one off of Broadway a couple of years ago. And so it seems like both of them now are just about ready to get, you know, come in front of the board. So I'd like to say this. I know some people are pro-development. I know some people are anti-development. But I think what we have to realize with the loss of our tax base at Indian Point, we have to do some development. So let's see what these developers have to offer, and you know, and then the board can decide what they want to do with this.
What parcels were you talking about, Mayor?
So the one is where Griffin's property is. That's the one off of Broadway. The other
Opposite
one
Lens
is
Cove Park.
right. And the other one is right to the left of the hardware store. It's up for sale now. That strip there, that to the left of the hardware store, and then it goes back, I think, behind the hardware store.
How
So
many acres is that? The
Mark
one
is
by
the
the
Oh, I
hardware-
forget. It's somewhere between
Six-
5 and 7. I don't remember
yeah.
exactly.
Okay,
It
thank
actually
you.
wraps around the hardware store,
Mhm.
but you know, and the back of it faces the Con Ed property,
Yeah.
you know, the power line easement.
So I don't know, you know, we'll find out what their thoughts are.
Mhm.
And tomorrow evening at 6:30, we have a special meeting. Unfortunately, the person we hired for the rezoning of Indian Point was not available to come this evening. It would have worked out perfectly. So he's going to go over, you know, do an overview and the process, how the process works. And really, we hired this person because I think it's important that we have a professional lead us in the rezoning. And that's what I have for today. Anyone else have anything?
I have
Before we go
something,
into-
Mayor.
Sure. Okay.
Last month I had asked for a resolution and letter in opposition to Senate Bill 3336, which was the carbon tax bill.
Okay, is that, Sean, is that, there's enough, I think there might be another name for that, or maybe there's something else that's going on.
No, I believe it's, well,
It's specifically the carbon tax bill?
yeah,
or
it's
is this
carbon
the-
tax. Right now, it's in a budget review committee.
Okay, okay,
And I had mentioned that I didn't know whether you had 45, 47 mixed up with 33, 36, because I had asked for the
Okay.
accessory apartment thing back in June, I think it was, or July.
Yeah, I had sent that letter to Senator Harkam in May, so, and now they're in full gear. Now, are you sure this isn't the one that is the Climate and Community Investment Act? Because there's something else going on too. There's a couple.
Although
of
this is what this is it's a tax on all fossil fuels.
Okay,
Tax on, and that tax, the tax revenue is 33% are to be used for subsidizing the energy bills of people below 60% below the median of the counties. And the other 60% or 66 or 60% is to go to research for green energy. And then there's some other percentage. So it could go by a different name, but it was
might be
billed
it.
on the internet and on the New York State website as a tax on carbon. It's basically a 5% tax. So it'd be 50 cents per gallon, approximately per dollar. It also includes taxation on natural gas. It includes taxation on fuel oil. Propane, anything that burns carbon is going to be taxed. So it would affect everybody, not just gasoline or diesel fuel. Like I said, it's fuel oil, natural gas, even the garbage burning plant. Everything would be taxed that produces carbon. And it's
Did you say it's a 5% tax, Sean?
It's
5%.
So
That'd be like another.
they have if you go on their website, you'll see how they have it broken down by the tonnage of CO2 from each different fuel. And it comes out to basically 5 cents on every gallon of gasoline. So it fluctuates on different things. So that was one of the things that right now it's in the budget committee.
Sure.
So that was something I thought that maybe we should also oppose.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think, we'll do up another resolution because I need to find out exactly if it's within the Climate and Community Investment Act, because this is a packet I haven't been able to totally absorb yet, but that it might be packaged in there.
No, it could be, but it's its own separate bill.
Okay. Yeah, because I don't have a bill number here. It's in the assembly. I don't have a bill number.
It's a Senate bill. It's not an assembly bill. It's a
Oh,
Senate
okay,
bill.
that's why I don't see it. Okay.
It's,
All right, so
like I
we'll
said,
do another. Sure.
It's S3336.
Okay, good.
And it's currently in
That's
committee, but it's not on the floor yet.
Yeah, I'm sure. The green people really want to destroy the carbon as fast as they can, but we don't have the green energy up and running yet either. So I don't know, we're gonna do with Fred Flintstone? I don't know. I'm not sure here yet. Okay,
Also, I wanted to discuss an employee issue in executive session. I didn't know if we had an executive session scheduled. I know it's on there, but I wanted to discuss an employee issue that came to light a couple of weeks ago.
Okay, all right. Because we're gonna go into executive session.
Okay. Also, I have been talking to some residents. I did speak to Marcus on a couple of issues that they have been bringing up to me. One of them was where the plaques for the clock that used to be in Monroe Park. Some families had donated and their names were on the plaques, and they were wondering if the plaques were going to be reinstalled or, if there was any plan. I just hadn't heard anything about that. So.
Yeah, and like I said last month, we're not finished with the circle yet, and those plaques are definitely going to go back up. That's a definite, but we just weren't finished with the circle yet, and I had asked everyone to be patient, but it's definitely happening. Yeah,
I didn't know if there was something in plans, but I just hadn't heard.
No, that's a good question. No, sure.
Also, I had a couple of residents that asked me about the data wires and the telephone poles on Albany Post Road near the Gallon Measure and Dunkin' Donuts. A lot of the wires are hanging pretty close, and they'd seen kids jumping and grabbing and stuff like that. And as a fireman, we were always taught any wire that's hanging, you have to consider it live, even though, people will know which is data and which isn't data. To the untrained eye, it could present an issue. So I just spoke with Marcus about it today. I heard about it over the weekend. I don't know if he was able to get to Con Edison or not. But.
Yeah, we've been dealing with that for about a year because they're transferring the wires over. There was off of 9A against that wall between Gallagher and Catherine Street. They had left a bunch of rubble there, and we had them remove that. And I don't understand what why they're not transferring those poles and getting rid of the older poles, like transferring the wires to the new poles. It seems like they come here for a little while, they do so much work, and then they're gone again. So we've had this issue for like a year now with those wires hanging, and they had raised the wires before up so that the kids couldn't reach it, because I know there were several people that had contacted Marcus and myself to do that. And so, yeah. That's
Well, I
gotta be
figured that those
addressed
were the
again.
data wires, so, Con Ed
Yeah,
is in charge of their poles. So I know
Yeah.
it's hard when Con Ed puts the poles in, they put the primaries on and the transformers and their
Right.
other service lines, and it's up to the other utilities to remove them. So
Mm.
I know I don't think that those poles were installed on a schedule. I think it was a result of what had happened a few years ago where a lot of damaged ones fell down. So it was probably in the planning process. I don't know. I didn't have an answer for the resident. I said the same thing you said, Mayor, and that's what I had seen happen in the past. I was just asking Marcus for an update on it, so we
Sure.
can get back to them on
But I
that.
know they put a lot of poles in front of the high school. It went down to the high school. It went, south on 9A. There was a lot of changeover of the poles. And it's just the strangest thing. They work for a while and then they disappear. And I don't understand, what they're doing, but I know we've had spoken to Con Edison before, and also the company that was doing that. Marcus, do you have any other updates on that?
Yeah, after Sean brought that up to me, I called Con Edison again. I went to voicemail. Hopefully I get a response tomorrow and try to get an ETA of what's going on there. So as soon as I find out information, I'll send an email to the board.
Sure, great.
Thanks.
That'll be good.
Thank
And then we
you.
can get back to that resident of what's happening too.
There's one other thing. I picked up the audit today. I don't know
Okay.
if the trustees know that the audit was complete. And I didn't get a chance to look through it, but right on, one of the things that popped out to me was an asset of water rents for $581,000. I was just wondering, I didn't think that we were collecting water rents.
I can
Okay.
answer. What page was it on?
Page 13, third line down or fourth line down in assets, says receivables, water rents, $581,864.
What I believe that to be is the water bills, the outstanding water bills as of the date of the audit. I can check on the water fund. Give me 1 minute.
That doesn't, $500,000 for a water bill sound awfully small. We go through a lot more water than that.
And Marcus, so everybody knows, we're going to have the auditor come in to review the audit. The audits used to come in like towards end of year, and I had asked going forward that the audits come out sooner, hopefully before budget time, so we would have something to work off of with our audit from the previous year.
Yeah. So Sean, if you look at the water fund, page 70, the water rent receivable was $581,000. That's the outstanding bills that have not been paid as of May 31st of that year. So that's the outstanding balance. And if you remember, the state does not allow us to re-levy the water onto the taxes due to COVID. So the receivables are higher than last year's because we could not re-levy the water bills under tax bill. So those are the receivables still due to the village for water bills as of May 31st of 21.
How is that listed as an asset if we haven't received it?
Because because what happens is, just like taxes, you record the revenue when it's billed. And that's the way the accrued basis of accounting works. When you actually bill the bill, you actually record it as a receivable, and as you collect it, you reduce the receivable and then debit the cash amount. So it's like, if you're in a business and you send a bill off to somebody, that's the receivable to you as a business.
I just think it should be titled outstanding water bills or outstanding water charge instead of water rents, because we never associated dollar value with the water rents.
Yeah, that's the way it has to be accounted for under the state of New York accounting method.
Okay, all right, and we're going to be reviewing the whole.
Yeah, in March, the auditors will be here. So
Perfect.
if the board has any question when the auditors come in March, absolutely, that's the best time to ask any other questions.
Thanks.
Good.
That's all I have, Mayor. Thanks.
All right, great. Thank you, Sean. Okay, anyone else? Are we good?
I have a couple of things.
Okay,
Uh, First, let me just give a quick update. There was a committee judging the logo designs. They did a great job. They assigned a point value and came up with 4 finalists and with some comments to those finalists. And the rest of the designs are tabled. And I've reached out to those 4 finalists with the comments and given everybody a couple of weeks if they want to tweak their designs and also resubmit them in a smaller size that the logo would like probably get used closer to the size put on stationery, which is like 1.5 inches. So we're in a down to 4 finalists, and by next month, maybe we'll have a winner. Once we get the 4 finalists tweaking their designs, they'll go back to the group that's been judging them, and then I'll update the board next month again, or whenever they're done. There will be a $500 prize to the winner, based on contributions from me and Marcus and Stephanie actually also are contributing to that. So
How much did you want, Nick? I forgot. Did you want $50 or 70? How much did you want from each?
anybody that can contribute any amount they want,
Okay.
we'll
Check in your box.
that would be fine.
Okay.
That would be fine. But and I'll still keep it at 500. It'll just be distributed more evenly amongst people. If anybody else wants to contribute to that prize, be very happy to have another contribution. Thanks. I also just wanted a couple of things to kind of get a little update. We had talked about whether there was a possible for somebody to be on the zoning board as well as the assessment review board. And did we get an answer on that? Or is that still up in the air?
No, it's okay.
Yes, yeah, Stephanie got back to me and she said it was fine. And we had the Board of Assessment Review meeting last week, and Ed went there, so we're fine. Thank you.
Okay, I wasn't sure if that was cleared. All right. Also, we did a whole lot of review of the zoning code with the intention of having a meeting to discuss it, so that we could get our comments back to the company that's reviewing the code for us. When I think there seems to be a lot going on in March. Can we maybe add another workshop like we did for the planner
we're
tomorrow?
gonna have to, Nick. I'm sorry, there
think
was a
so,
lot going on.
Because that's one thing that we need some time on. We've already mentioned a couple of other things for the March workshop, so that could get a little too crowded. I was also wondering what the next step is on the IMA with the town and the village regarding sewer upgrades. Is there something in the works, or is there an update on that? What's our next step? Is there?
We finally got all the signed documents. So the village, the town, and the state have signed off on the agreement.
Right.
So now we go forward and we work on a IMA, which has to be completed.
Right, I understand that. So is there?
But I think we have the bones of the IMA agreement.
Okay.
Pretty much, so there's
that
some work that needs to be done.
Okay, so
Hey, Nick,
is that,
if I
yes,
could just butt in real quick.
sure.
Yeah, I sent an email to Tom Wood and Michael Cunningham, and we're going to try to jump in and get some schedules going since there's
Okay.
a time
so-
limit.
so
So yeah, we
There
just
is,
had
that's
the
why I'm
state,
asking, yeah.
right, the state just signed off last week. It took a bit, but now it's
Okay.
fully executed, and now we begin our calendaring of the IMA discussions. So, and I'll keep you
Okay.
guys updated as we get dates.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. That's just wanted to make sure that wheels were in motion.
Yep.
And, and the other thing is, I see that there was a decision from the county Board of Ethics that trustee Murray will need to recuse himself from matters dealing with Holtec, and which is pretty much what our code says anyway. So I assume if we're going into an executive session to discuss negotiations or strategies with Holtec in our executive session, that trustee Murray will be recusing himself.
I think the decision actually said, if you read the conclusion on, I think it was page 7, it said that I should recuse myself from negotiations and voting on the pilot. Didn't say that I couldn't discuss Holtec. Said I couldn't
Yeah.
discuss the pilot or vote on it, taxation. If you go to the last page, it'll tell you what the conclusion is.
No, I understand, but Holtec has, what we decide in the pilot is one thing. Also, what we decide in the way of rezoning and planning for that property could have an impact on Holtec. And our code does say that, it says that there should be, there should not be any direct or indirect contact with any business that has an interest in the village. And as an employee for any corporation interested in any manner whatsoever in business or professional dealings with the village, that trustee has to disclose to the village trustees in writing that conflict, and that officer has to, meaning the trustee, disqualifies himself from acting in his official capacity, and that's pretty much any dealings that affect Holtec. I mean, I'm glad to hear other opinions, but that's the way I see it.
Well, as I had previously stated, that I would abide by any decision that was made by the ethics committee, and I plan on doing that. And if you read the conclusion, it also says that my ability to act as a trustee and should not be interfered just because of a secondary employer. That from time to time, that occasions may come up where I would have to recuse myself on that. But the main complaint that was issued by the mayor in the first page talks about the
Specifically the pilot.
Yes.
Okay.
And if
But
you
the-
read, and it goes through 7 pages of administrative law on the duties of a trustee. It goes on, it says a lot of things. I actually didn't internalize the entire paper, but the conclusion says that I shouldn't vote or deliberate on the payment in lieu of tax.
Right, and if you go to the paragraph up above there, well, it does say there's no inherent incompatibility between the duties of village trustee and those of an employee of Holtec, meaning the fact that you work for Holtec doesn't mean that it's incompatible with being a trustee. And it goes on to say, nevertheless, while the duties of the proposed secondary office are not inherently incompatible with the trustee's official duties, conflicts of interest may nevertheless arise from time to time, and the trustee must recuse himself from participating in any official matter involving his secondary employer, which is Holtec. Any official matter. That's a general statement.
My comment on the thing is I would agree, and I think that they emphasized it, whether there is an exact conflict in each particular case, but that is also covering the appearance thereof. And due to the fact that this conflict always arises in the area of political arenas, that an elected official should do everything they can to not have any appearance thereof. I know as a government worker for 35 years, we weren't even allowed to go anywhere near anything like that that would have to do with anybody that had any business with the government. So I don't think it's a good thing for the village to have anybody who's involved or works for a company that is doing business with the village. And I feel very strongly about that because I lived that for 35 years.
Yeah, the M2 district doesn't only include the Holtec property. M2 district also includes the sheetrock plant, includes the Con Edison property, it includes the pipeline property. It includes a lot of things other than the Holtec property. And, you know,
I think we're only referring to Holtec stuff.
Okay.
In terms of recusals.
I understand it. I'm just curious, how does that make the village better? How does that decision make the village better? How does it enhance?
Well, as I said, I said, this is a situation that it goes all over the country. Every elected official should have the responsibility of not giving off any appearance of conflict. In other words, if there's any bit of appearance of the credibility of, in general, I'm saying a politician by the people of our country is very low. It's probably one of the lowest looked upon professions going in the country as a politician. And I think that's part of the thing, but it also puts you in a bad way because, for instance, how would you negotiate? You know, let's say you win your election. How are you going to negotiate with Holtec? That would be
I already said I would abide by the determination of the county ethics board.
well. I know.
So if I were to win, that's for me to know, I guess, then, huh?
No, but I think
Yeah,
we should be abiding
okay.
by our code. That was an opinion.
Yeah,
Excuse me,
it's-
wait. That was an opinion that Teresa, the mayor, asked for.
Mhm.
I'm just giving my opinion. I think that you should go by our code, not the Westchester County Board of
Well,
Ethics.
in their explanation, they point out that it's appearance, it's also getting the trust of the public. You know, that there's a lot of factors, but the nitty gritty of it is that it says right there, trustee must recuse himself from participating in any official matter involving the employer.
So what do you plan on doing here, Sean?
What do you mean?
Are you going to recuse yourself?
I'm going to follow, it's my plan to follow the judgment of the Westchester County Board of Ethics decision. That's what I said I would do in the beginning. Unfortunately, the Village of Buchanan doesn't have an ethics board. If the Village of Buchanan had an ethics board, the county would have been prohibited by law from hearing the complaint, and I would have abided by the Village of Buchanan's ethics board. But as I had said, and I always said, I'll abide by the determination of the board. Even though I didn't have a chance to speak with anybody, even though I didn't have the chance to give my side of any story, you know, I've been there for 32 years. I know the ins and outs of the place. I believe that I've always been an asset of my 15 years of government. I've always treated every applicant the same. When I entered into agreements for police coverage, when I entered into agreements for taking their sewage, when I entered into agreements to change the taxation on the GSB and the original asphyxie pad. Nobody had a problem when I signed the design plans and approved the construction of the dry cast pad, as was my duty when assigned to by the mayor. So it's, you know.
I don't think we're questioning your ethics. What
Okay.
I'm saying, it's in the code.
And it's been
In
in
our
there.
village code, and it's very clear. And I mean, I didn't know it until we did this whole thing with the code. I was going through the code and I read
Oh,
this.
don't tell me that, Rich, please. Don't tell me that, because you asked me that when we were on the campaign trail, when we first ran together in 2010. That's the
Did I
exact
know-
question.
did I know who you voted? Yeah, who you were, but back in 2010, no, I did not have the experience I have now. No, I agree with you, but that doesn't change anything. It's in the code. It's not about your ethics. It's about our code. And, you know, like anything in the code, if everybody wants to go change it, that could be, but it says basically somebody who has any working or any dealings with a company or any kind of business or anything, and had that business or company has business with our village, you're not supposed to, you're supposed to recuse yourself. That's what this code says.
Okay.
I'm not questioning your ethics.
I understand.
I'm not questioning your ethics. I think you're an honest person, and I think you try to do the right thing, but that's what it says in the code. I'll leave it at that.
And like I said, the M2 area doesn't only affect any Indian Point property. It affects several other owners. So tomorrow, when we're discussing the development of the M2 or zoning of the M2, it includes more than one owner.
John, I think you're misunderstanding. I know you're talking about other M2 properties and areas, but this is specifically in reference to the Holtec property because you're employed by them. So the other properties, different situation, you'd be able to be involved in that. We're specifically talking about the Holtec. And my question to you is, have you ever done negotiations for a pilot?
No.
Okay. So this pilot that whether it's a pilot, a tax assessment, we're working on it now. So this is going to be one of the most difficult negotiations that this village has seen in quite some time. I'm sure when Con Edison came here in I think it was 57, and they were doing negotiations with the village board, I'm sure the negotiations were pretty smooth because Con Edison wanted to come here, and they did at that time a lot of our infrastructure. So I'm sure those negotiations were pretty easy. The negotiations when, I think, what was it, 2000, when the taxes went up 100% that year, when Entergy had bought from Con Edison, that was kind of a tough situation because that's when there was a pilot. My dealings when I dealt with Entergy with the negotiations, they were pretty fair. I think I could negotiate with them. We got a really good settlement a couple of times. We got the one agreement and where I had gotten the 250,000 extra for the infrastructure. And then we also renegotiated again just before Entergy sold to Holtec, and we were able to get another 135,000. So they were reasonable to deal with because they were an operating plant. They were making money. So now here we have a company, Holtec, and I've been told many times they have deep pockets but short arms, and they're in there to do a job. Their job is to do decommissioning. They're not making money. They're using the monies from the decommissioning fund. And this is going to be one of the toughest negotiations this village has seen, I think, ever, probably. And this is critical. This is critical that this is done in a right way. And I just, you know what, this was nothing against you personally, Sean. People had been asking, is there a conflict of interest? People wanted to know. So I thought, in fairness to everyone, put it out there. You're correct. We do not have an ethics board in the village. I think it's difficult to get an ethics board together because we're so small and everybody knows one another. So I just thought it was in the best interest of the village, send it down there. Let these people make the decision. They went according to, the code. They went according to our village code, where this one statement, the Village of Buchanan Code of Ethics also prohibits a village officer or employee from engaging in secondary employment activities that conflict with his or her official duties. So, it's just, we needed this opinion because people were asking. And, you're, obviously reading the opinion through the conclusion, one way, but I think maybe what I need to do to go back to the county, if it's not about a pilot, just specifically about any dealings with Holtec, if you could be involved, and I think that would clarify it a little bit. But I think just people were asking, that's all.
Okay, so, as I said, I've been there for 32 years. I'm not in a management position. I have nothing to do with funds. Some of the things that you guys had in the intervener was how afraid or how there could be issues moving fuel. That's what I was doing for 3 months. I was actually putting the fuel in the canisters. So, and I know the process, I know the ins and outs of the plant. I'm just
Yeah.
curious, how does limiting my ability to communicate with you better for a village resident? How is it possible that having less information is better for the village residents or even the elected officials? Like I said, I've been there for 32 years and an elected or appointed official in my capacity for many years also. And, you know, just because you didn't understand what the rules were, I thought that, and I still feel that I'm an asset when it comes to the expertise of the movement, of the materials that so many people are afraid of. And limiting my ability to communicate with you is not an asset to the village residents. It's a detriment to your ability to negotiate and to be educated. I remember a few years ago, Rich, when Holtec was taking over, you had asked the representatives what had happened to the fuel from Unit 1. And if you would have asked me, I would have told you where it was transported to. It's all public record. The information that I know is public knowledge. It was transported out by trucks and by rails, and it was reprocessed and sold. Those numbers or the value could be used to help tax the casks because there is a number associated with it.
Mhm.
But now you're preventing me from giving you that information to make it better for the village resident. And like I said, this isn't proprietary information. This is public information, but it's very, very difficult to get to. But you're preventing me from helping the residents. I can only think that there's only one reason, but that's fine.
No, it's, Sean, it's not personal. This has
Well, wait,
nothing, this has nothing to do with politics. It's the law. And you know what? We're the ones, Rich, Nick, and I, it was that board that came up with getting that legislation passed to tax the spent fuel cask. I have gone to the Holtec manufacturing facility in Camden and actually seen those canisters being built. So you know what, Sean, it's just, I know what you're saying. You have a lot of information. You've worked at the plant for years. That's great. But a lot of this is going to be financial doing these negotiations. So you know what, it's, the opinions are in there. It is specifically with the Buchanan code. But, you know, if you insist, you know, on not recusing yourself, then, you know, I can't stop you. I can't stop you.
There's one other
Yeah,
thing.
no, the code's not written because of an assumption that the person is going to lie and seek personal gain, but on the that connection could possibly lead to that conflict of interest. Whether or not your recusal benefits or harms, you know, weakens the discussions or benefits the discussions, you know, is a good question, but it's not the issue. The issue is that legally, if there's an appearance of conflict, if there's a conflict of interest, then the recommendation is recusal from the matters that deal with those issues. You know, I don't know that they don't go into depth on, you know, when it's going to benefit the village and when it's not going to benefit the village. It's the appearance of impropriety, and that's why the code of ethics is there.
So does that mean, Nick, that you're going to recuse yourself from any legislation or interpretation of the law when it comes to accessory apartment? Because you have an accessory apartment. You've been very.
No, I
vocal.
don't. I have a two-family house.
Okay. I thought you had an accessory. I'm sorry.
No, it's a two-family.
Okay.
No, this all just came about, Sean, because people were asking. So we just wanted to address that. That's all. And please, it was nothing personal. I can tell you that. So,
I understand.
okay. Anyone else have anything? Okay, so, Marcus, do we have any hands raised? Is there anybody from the audience? I know at workshops, we don't have to allow people to speak, but I've always allowed if anybody has a question or a comment that they can speak. Okay, if there, there's a hand. There we go. Marcus, Eileen, I see the hand. Sometimes I can't see the hands. Today I see the hand.
Yep, I'm bringing her up. Hold on a second. Okay, Eileen, you can unmute yourself.
Okay, I just want to know, are you sending out for tomorrow night's meeting at 6:30? Is that by Zoom?
Yes, Eileen. it is.
Okay, so we'll get something in our email or something like that, or,
Yeah, Sharon, the city takes care of that, is on the calendar as well.
oh, it is on the calendar.
Yes.
I didn't
yeah.
see that. I didn't see it on the calendar, but I will look again. Okay,
No, no problem. What's on the
All right.
email, normally Sharon takes care of the email blast and the Facebook.
all right.
Thank you, Eileen. I'm glad you're going to be on that. I know you were part of the committee I had formed a while back, the Buchanan 2021, 2022. Oh, no, it was 2020, 2021. The years are
Yeah, I
just everything's jumbled together with all that's going on. But yeah, I had formed that committee, which, and then I had told you guys that there would eventually be a discussion about the property. And as we're
Right.
working with Holtec, you know, the discussion is still going on with the early release of that northern 60 acres of property. So they still seem to be pretty receptive with that. And they're looking at the release dates potentially of 2024. So
Okay, but
that
this
would
is
be
with,
great.
this meeting tomorrow is with the planner, correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay, all right. Okay,
All right.
I'll be
Thanks,
there.
Elaine.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. All right, if we don't have anything else, I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session to discuss personnel and also negotiations with Holtec.
So move.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
All right, guys, just give me a minute so we can
Okay,
shut
sure.
everything down. Hold on a second.